Morning, everybody. My name is Robin Brown, and I'm an independent demonstrator from Stampin' Up. I'm celebrating my 10th year anniversary with the company in November, and I'm grateful for everyone that's been along with me on the journey. I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We are going to have a class making some all occasion cards, one for fall, one for spring. Well, I say spring, but that's florals, pumpkins. Let's see, at a surprise Christmas at the end. Well, it's not a surprise anymore, is it? Christmas at the end, and somewhere along the middle, we'll just have a whole lot of fun. So I thank you for joining us this morning. Bring your friends next time. I'd appreciate it. Would love to have them. You can also watch the recording of the Zoom on YouTube at my channel, Robin's Nest Creations, and look for the little black bird with the cattails logo because there's 3 or 4 other channels that use the same name, Robin's Nest Creations. How about that? And I thought I was being different. So anyway, thank you for joining us this morning. We'll get started here just shortly. There we go.
Oh, you did.
All right, so now everybody's here. The first card we have for this morning is what they're calling either a triple point flip card or a diamond point card, depending on who you are and where you are in the world, I guess. Anyway, this is a copy of the one that was done online. And then this is the one that I did yesterday. And I changed it up because this one looked way too busy with this background. So I just flipped the paper over and did it the opposite way on this one. Let's see if I can get my color a little better here. Nope.
Good. That's good.
Oop, that one. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so this is using the hand penned stamp sets, the penned dies, and the DSP, which is something to do with Hand Penned Petals, I believe is the name of the DSP. So I'll show you how we do this. This is a very, 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 very easy card, actually. But I want to show you how I cut it at first, because that's pretty much the hardest part. All right, so the card is our standard card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And what I did on the 5.5 side is I marked the center. The center of 5.5 is 2 3/4. So I just took my trimmer this way. All right, I took my trimmer. I gotta find this first. I kind of fold your card so you can see where the edge is. What you're going to do is cut from that center notch out to this corner, and from the center notch out to that corner, and save the pieces. So,
Oh, you cut it. I'm gonna go get my coffee.
my eyes are working right here. 1. And then from the same way back. So there you have your, that's how you make your card base. Okay, that's all there is to it. You save those two pieces. Then you do a similar thing with the DSP for the front, except this is a little bit more difficult because 1/2 of 5 1/4 is 5. 1/2 of 5 is 2 1/2. 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8. So this is 2 5/8. Somewhere this morning I got 2 9, or yesterday I got 2 9/16. I don't remember. But if you can't figure out where that 1/2 point is, just take this like this, put your finger, hold the corners together, and just give this a little pinch down here. And then that'll be your center point, and then you can actually mark it with a pencil. There. And let's see where that actually comes out to. Yeah, that comes out to 2 5/8. All right, so then you cut your corners same way. It's a little harder to see with this designed paper. So you might want to turn it over and use the other side. Okay, so the thing with this particular next step is if you use these pieces without trimming them, they would fit on here with the tiniest of borders. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and put them like sides together. So whichever way you hold them together, put the like sides together, put your right angle up there at the top of your cutting, not here, of your cutting thing, and we're going to cut 1/8 of an inch off. So, oh, I don't like this cutter. Let's see. An inch would get us there, maybe. Cutting 1/8 of an inch off. All right. And that will give us kind of the more of the border that we're looking for. You see the difference?
Yes.
And that's all we need to do with that trimmer. If I can. Going to get one of those in your kit, and then this is for the sentiment as well. All right, so while we have those pieces there waiting, we're going to stamp the inside sentiment. And I just made this into a get well card. So it actually says feel better friend on the inside. So that's what we're going to do.
But it could be any kind of card.
Can't hear ya.
It could be any kind of card.
Ah, yes. It could be anything. And if I have my Highland Heather ink, hey, it's in the box where it's supposed to be. Go figure. Tiny little sentiment. When you're thinking of putting your sentiment in here, you have to make sure that it fits in this space because you don't want it hanging out from the sides of your design there. There's little trouble with this tiny little stamp that everything is going to stick out on that one. Clean that off so I don't forget to. Purple ink all over everything. Take this off and put it. Oh, kind of funny. There we go. Goes this way. For another card down the line. Okay, so let's start this card piece. Now you have to decide which way you want to do the design. I think I'm going to do it this way again. And you'll see that that matches up in there pretty good. You can either use liquid glue or Tombow, or well, Tombow is liquid glue, isn't it? Liquid glue or tape runner. That's what I was trying to say. And just glue that one down into place. Okay. Now the next step is, first of all, glue your pieces together and watch your patterns when you're cutting. There is a right and a wrong, I mean, an up and a down to this particular piece of paper. Unless you want your flowers growing upside down, you want to kind of watch that. So when you're trimming that, you're not when we trimmed in the previous step, we're trimming not the hypotenuse, but the longest leg of your right triangle. Think you'd ever have to use that geometry, trigonometry stuff again, did you?
So I am using geometry.
I think we use it more than we realize because we just do it.
I have you guys turned all the way up and high and I can barely hear you.
I'm sitting back.
Okay. All right, so this is how we put the pieces on here. We're going to hold your thumb on the right angle piece, the thumb and forefinger. And that's going to be your guide. You're going to put this on here so that this right angle, well, it would be good if I put it on the, why is this one not fitting? Okay, because I'm not up high enough. Okay, so your right angle needs to touch the one side of the card. The point down here needs to touch, and then you rotate this up until the point of that triangle just touches the score line. And then you fold this down. You're going to mark this with a pencil, which can be erased. Just so you know that from there up is where you're going to apply glue, not down any lower. So you put some glue here as you're holding it. Make sure it stayed in place and then fold this back down. And press. Same thing on the other side. Now, some cards do it so that these cross in the front. It's just all, you'd have another one that would cross in the front. I've seen it done both ways. This particular one I thought looked best this way. So I'm going to once again make sure that my right angle touches the side of the card. The other point touches the bottom, and the one up here rotates up to touch on the fold. Adjust it if it moved a little bit. Mark your card where the glue is going to go. Put the glue on. The hair. Put it back down. Righty. And then we have the inside sentiment. I like to put that on with tape runner. Shout at me if I get out of the frame, because my old camera would not hook up to my new internet modem. So I have my iPad up here using it for a camera. I think it's actually a little bit better picture. Thing. Time will tell. All right, so that's centered in there. That's our sentiment. Then this piece, we're going to color with pretty much all the colors that are in that color palette of that paper, although I'm going to color it a little different because I didn't particularly care for this pool party flower after I did it. So we're going to make that a regular violet. And you could do this, however you want. Violets have a little yellow center. And then we'll put the dark purples on the accent marks that are given. And we'll just go over the rest of it with, this is Highland Heather. This tip is, boy, these tips are delicate on these markers. They really don't take any abuse at all. I'll have to see if I can get them replaced a little bit. Well, by the time I replace the tip, the marker will probably be out of ink.
Can
So
you replace?
maybe I'll just trim it with the scissors.
Can you replace tips?
Huh?
Tips can be replaced.
Yes. It's called tipsformarkers.com.
Oh.
That you can replace your Stampin' Right tips. They have tips for Copics and Stampin' Up markers, both kinds of markers. The problem with the alcohol ones is you really can't refill them unless you know the combination of what they use for, light and dark, the difference between light and dark.
Right.
I don't think that makes it a huge difference, but a little yellow flower over here. And then I think I will put a full party flower in there, but one of these tiny ones. Ooh, solid. So these are all the colors that are in. Oh, that's not full party. Well, that's soft succulent light. We're up there. That's dark mint macaron. Come on here, Robin. Get it right.
It's on your workstation, Robin.
That's the dark one.
Oh.
I wanted a dark center and a light outside, but you know, so now we got whatever those are. Maybe I'll just give them a different color center and see what we.
Oh, it just has a little shadow on it.
Pardon?
It makes it look like there's a shadow on it.
Better?
Yep.
So pink and tail papaya. Let's have a pink flower up here. I know my petal pink is just about out. I have a new one in the drawer, but trying to get every bit of color out of it since they're so expensive. And one more flower, and then we're going to go to leaves. Let me see. Already flamingo. Barbara likes flamingos.
I do.
Flamingo one here. And the rest of the leaves are mint macaron and those succulents, soft succulents. So let me see what I got here. Dark soft succulents. That's dark mint macaron. Light soft succulent. Okay, so let's do all these dark sections of the leaves that are amplified here with black lines. We'll just kind of go over them, fill them in a little bit. You could just leave it that way if you like. Yeah. So now I'm just going to fill in. And then we'll put some dimensionals on this and stick it right in the middle of the card. I use these for Marilyn Seasock's daughter's table decorations that she asked me to make. This particular flower, I remember cutting, I think she needed 150 of them.
Wow.
Mally's chocolates were in the inside.
Ah.
It took quite a while. Alrighty, so we're going to put some dimensionals on the back. I'll try not to get too carried away, although, you know, I just like these things sticking to my fingers, I guess. I don't know why. I just like lots of them. All right. So I do like the using of the pokey tools to get the backing off of the, I just learned how to do that. And you can just leave them on there until you get them all off. Yes. That one didn't come off yet. Huh. Thought I had this down pat. There we go. All right, they're all sticky. And then you just take all of those together and put them in the trash, and then they don't, you know, they don't do their thing all over the place. All right, so we're going to put this kind of like right here. And then I have some, oh, I have knocked something over here. I have some seam binding ribbon. And I'm just going to take a piece. Oh, about 11 inches, 12 inches, something like that. And this ribbon likes to come off the spool, so stick a pin in it right away, or you'll find a wad of seam binding ribbon all over the place. Looking for my rhinestones. For them in a little bit. All right, so to color this, to make it nice and Highland Heather color, I took the light Highland Heather marker. And I'm going to put a piece of paper under there so that I don't get my clean metal messed up. We'll get that messed up later. I take the brush point and just kind of lay it on the side, on its side, and give it a pull through. Well, that worked real well, didn't it? So give it a pull. I have to do that a couple times. So we'll go back and catch what we didn't catch that time. I think it's easier to actually lay it out and draw it on now that I'm doing it. And it sort of looks like the wrong color when you first do it, and then when it dries, it color matches. Why that is. Here, get the end that I was holding on to. All right, so there's a ribbon. To make it into a bow. So I'm going to get out my fork. I don't seem to be able to make a decent looking bow without tying it around the fork. Usually just the right size. This is my favorite fork. If I lose this fork, oh, I don't know what I'll do.
Dinner.
Try and pull that tight. Rip off the edges. Slide it off the fork. Actually, could have got away with 10 inches of ribbon if you have fingers nimble enough to tie them on. And then a glue dot. Going to put the bow up here or down here. Let's put the bow down here this time. Okay, like that.
Pretty.
And then rhinestones, and they're supposed to be in this box, and they are. Ooh. Okay, so I put a rhinestone right in the center of the bow. Center of, let's see, this yellow flower. And 3 others somewhere. So I'm going to put one over here. But you always want an odd number. One over here. And one more up there in that bouquet. Let me put it, let's put it, yeah, I like it there anyway, in the center of that flower. So there you are.
Pretty.
Yeah.
And like I say, you can do that with the, oh, brother, with the pieces on top or on the bottom. It matters not, you could have these going crisscross on the front, and you would have this kind of look on the front of the card. Just whatever you're up for. So that's the end of the first card.
All right.
And that's using the cardstock is Highland Heather, and the DSP is the Hand Penned, and the stamp set is Hand Penned Petals. This little sentiment is from Hand Penned Petals, so that kept it all in the family on that particular card. Any questions? Pushing that, Robin. Okay, so our next card is going to be a spin-off on, sort of a spin-off on one we've already done. But it's different enough to show you. This is using the split card textures dies. And I believe that they are on page 174 of the annual catalog. I believe that's where they're shown. They're kind of elusive in the catalog. They aren't really given a lot of showcasing, except for the very front cover. The very front cover. No, that's not using. I'm not using that. Let me see if I can find. I want to show you. They are on page 174, and they said they are shown on page 86. So let me look at page 86. Yeah, that's the only way they're shown right there, is in this men's masculine card. So to me, it didn't highlight them very well. I actually didn't even know they existed until I saw somebody make a card like this.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
So this is the Hello Harvest stamp set, the Rustic Harvest Dies.
Which are now available after I ordered the other, just the stamp set.
Oh, you might want to call the demo support and see if they can help you out.
I had just ordered the stamp set and got it the other day, and yesterday I noticed the dies were available.
Oh, geez. Okay, and then on the inside, I stamped it with something from Charming Sentiments, wishing you everything wonderful. Front says, you are such a blessing. So let's show you how this card works. Pretty easy. You're going to have a pumpkin, and so you'll need to stamp a pumpkin and some sunflowers, a sentiment, and a bouquet of flowers from the that's all from that Hello Harvest stamp set. And then you'll cut one of these, and it is one of the two dies that are in that set. Show you the dies up close and personal. There they are. So this one is kind of like triangle pattern, but it has what looks like starburst or stretched out flowers. To me, it's a more feminine kind of looking, and whatever. This one is the one I used, and all these little pieces get poked out. Just beware that you can have some confetti when you're done. Okay, That would be a good one to use your die brush with to get them all out. Die brush and pokey tool. All right, so this piece of paper is from the Rustic Harvest DSP that we used. I think it's the same one that we used to make that pumpkin card with the witch's feet sticking out. The DSP was actually on the back side of one of these patterns from there. And this is the back side of this pattern, which is
Pretty.
really pretty. This would be, if you maybe ran a brayer over it and colored the leaves, it might be a nice background behind there too. Or if you didn't have this DSP and you really like this pattern, I just picked it for the Cajun Craze color, but you could take just a piece of Cajun Craze or rust colored cardstock and take a gel pen and a ruler and go at it. You have nothing else to do with your day, right? I made this the 5 1/4 by 4. This piece, before I cut it out, I made it a 1/16 of an inch bigger than this one. You don't have to, but if you don't, you're going to have to be extremely accurate with how you place that on there so that it doesn't stick out. This has got just the tiniest little bit and nothing sticks out on the other side. So you don't want it to look like that when you're, you know, like when you're putting it on the card. You don't want anything sticking out. So that's why I made the front piece a little bit bigger. Could make the bottom piece a little bit smaller. That might work as well. But then you run the risk of having a gap here and here if you cut it too short. So that's the way I did it this time. And I have the card base here, and I'm going to put my Cajun Craze piece on there. As I can. Too bad. And then this one, and put adhesive tape over here, and then around this grid, I put a little bit, just a little hair path of Tombow glue. I put nothing on the grid itself. But if you wanted to be, I don't know, what would you be if you wanted to stick that all over there? I don't know. And so now that you can see how this piece covers up all of the Cajun Craze really well. And here's a little thing one pokey I didn't get poked out. Okay, so there's that. Our pumpkin is going to be done with 2 shades of pumpkin pie. Rather than Cajun Craze, because I didn't want it to blend in too much with the background. So I'm going to darken up our accent marks and go around the inside of all of these sections. The same way we have been doing on the same pumpkin from the first fall card we did, only we colored that with Cajun Craze. And then this is the same pumpkin from the Upside Down Witch card last month. All right, and then I'm just gonna go here. Gonna get glued down on the front of the card. You can put it anywhere on the front of the card you want. I happen to count over 3 of these grid lines and just line the side of
Color the stem.
there. Okay. Have a shadow going. Okay, and then you have this floral piece. Yeah, that's your Daffodil Delight and your centers I colored with light pumpkin color. Use brown. Closest to the center, I use the dark Daffodil Delight, and then on the outer portion of the petals, I went with the light. Color in the rest of the sunflowers. Right, and then I took Granny Apple Green for the leaves. And these leaves are so tiny, I just kind of touched them with a little bit of color. That's pretty much all you have to do. They are so tiny. And then we have 2 kinds of flowers. We have asters, and it looks like a tulip, but I'm not going to say it's a tulip. That would be the wrong time of year for tulips. Okay, so I'm going to take Dark Pool Party and color the asters with that. Just look like little pom-poms here, so I just colored them in. They show up a little bit, and then that those 2 little tulips I colored with Flirty Flamingo. A little bit. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of that. Top of our pumpkin. Save a little bit of room up there at the top. Guide you as to how much to put up there. Then we're going to take our sentiment that we stamped, and I just stamped this on a scrap of paper and cut it out kind of rectangularly. Rectangularly? anyway, we're going to take our Daffodil Delight marker and just go over the top of the word blessings. Actually, you want to see the color, so it doesn't matter if you sort of go out of the line. Just make it match up a little bit. And then I'm going to take my snips and cut this out around the words. Not anything critical. You could put this on a nice pennant if you don't like the look of this cut out version. That corner off down there a little bit. Okay. And we're going to glue that down. Put one side of it next to the pumpkin, right on top of the pumpkin, actually, sort of like that. Only we're going to make sure that is straight. And then we color these the sunflowers. Just hide the middle. Do the same thing with the Daffodil Delight around the inside, close to the center, and then got lighter as we went out. And there is a die in the die set to cut these out. I'm not going to cut these out for you, but I am going to show you where they go and how they go. It's a little time consuming to get the machine out and whatnot. So as you can see on the samples, there's 2 glued flat and 1 popped up. And then that's all there is to the front of the card. All right. So then you take your inside piece and stamp that with the sentiment from Charming Sentiments that says, wishing you everything wonderful. And we'll stamp that in Cajun Craze. Clean that off again. I don't spread it around, which I definitely would. Over for the other cards we're using. And the center of the card. And I will take my time after I'm done, take the machine out, or die cut those sunflowers, or possibly just cut them out with scissors. Probably would take less work to cut them out with scissors than it would to take the die cut machine out for those. 3 little gizmos. So that's the second card in the group. This particular color on the front was Sahara Sand. That's the color that I used for the grid. You could use Chrome Cake as well. You could even use any other fall color you'd want that would look good. Change it up. But get back in there. All right, so that's that card.
Very nice.
Now this next card that we're doing was kind of like a special request that I had got from a dear friend of mine, Lynn.
What can I say? I liked the card.
I did too. So here it is. It's called the Rediform Technique.
Cool.
Now, this one's upside down, but you could see it could go either way. And it's going to use 3 different inks: Mossy Meadow, Sahara Sand, and Cajun. Oh my goodness, what was that? Alrighty, and it's going to have these 3 pieces of stuff for the inside. We have a white card base, Whisper White. We have a Whisper White front that has been marked with a grid for you, and I'll show you how to mark that. And then your Mossy Meadow layer for the front. This says happy birthday. This sentiment up here says to a friend that makes me smile. And then the inside is wishing you all the happiness you can imagine. So it's a fall birthday card. You can do this in other colors. And I made this card during the COVID lockdown, and I decided that I was going to try it also in some other ways. So I have it on screen share here. I'm going to share the picture of the one I made for Christmas. So you can see that come out in a different version. Okay, so this one I used, golly, that must have been Gorgeous Grape and Pacific Point, perhaps. Island Indigo, maybe. So you can see that you can change this, use the same technique. And I also used gold embossing in there over here and on the leaves up here. And then I just colored with markers in between the gold embossing. And I think behind the pine bough here, I really made this fancy. Has some embossing with glitter. So this ball has got some glitter on it, this ornament. So that's how you can do it differently. Let me show you how we're going to do this one. I'm going to put these over here for reference.
That was pretty.
Excuse me. So you'll need some kind of marking device. I'm going to use the as a guide. So this first line is marked at 1 inch. So I put it in here in my trimmer and just used the trimmer as a guide. Where's my pencil? There it is. I just ran my pencil right down in the place where the blade would travel. So that marks off 1 inch. And then you're going to move over to, let's see, this is like 2 7/8. Nope, pardon me, it's 2 3/8. So you would mark that there. Then you're going to turn this up. And the first marking is 1 5/8 here. And then you move it over to here, and it's actually 3.5 inches exactly right there. And you only, on these two, you only mark them down to that 1 inch line here. Now, these lines are not even going to show, so don't worry about having to erase them and whatnot. They really just get covered right up. But what you're going to need to complete that is either some Post-it note tape, some Post-it notes, and I have some big ones here that cover everything, or you could use the small ones, or you can buy the purple painter's tape from your Home Depot store. I'm going to use, this is Post-it note tape, and I'm taping off that 1 inch section so that we don't get any ink in there. And then I am going to tape off this other one right here. So you just have the center column. Now you can either put another piece of tape there, or you can just cover it over with, and I have this taped right down to my grid paper, or you just tape another piece of Post-it note over that like that. And you should probably use a fresh Post-it note for every time you do this, but sometimes if you get that extra sticky stuff, it lasts a little bit longer. So there's our first space that we have cordoned off for stamping. And I am using the different leaves from Forever Fern. So the first one we're using is actually a part of a fairly large stamp. This one here. We're only going to place a certain amount of it. It will actually show up in our section there. Oh, you are going to need some sponge daubers or blending brushes. Or a regular sponge, a piece of sponge cut. And when you stamp these, you want to press pretty hard so that your image comes up right next to your tape without a big gap. And I'm going to take the extra ink off of this stamp with my brush just to use it, because otherwise you'd be cleaning it off and throwing it away. And just like we do with sponge daubers, you want to start out and work your way in. And the idea with this is just to color up the outsides with a tint of color and maybe leave the inside a little white. You can do that however you like. That's all there is to that one. Then you take your Post-it note and you turn it over so that it covers the one you just did. And get a fresh one. We're down here. Cover the next one. The next one is going to be done in Mossy Meadow. You don't want to mix up your sponge daubers or your eggs, because boy, those two colors blended together make mud, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to use this one here. Kind of looks like willow. I don't know what color. It is definitely. This has a little bit of excess on the outside. I'm going to take off because I don't want halos. I did get a halo on the last one. All right, so we're going to stamp this leaf whatever way you like, right into that centerpiece. If it goes off the edge, that's fine. That's part of the look of the technique. And once again, I'm going to take the excess ink off of there with my blender brush. And I'll start out here and kind of, I'm going to kind of blush that square with, oh, it's a good thing I didn't go right into the square first. See, that's what happens. Try to, you see, this is where I actually went too dark on this one. This one actually has a halo in it, but I covered that up pretty good. You can't see that.
You couldn't see that.
All right, so that's enough on that one. The last one in this, oh no. It went down to the abyss. Last one in this column is Sahara Sand. Now, I don't know if that shows up on the camera, but there's a tiny little area of color. So when I put this on here, I just leave that sliver of color so that when you're putting your blushes of color around there, that they actually meet up and don't leave a white spot. You can see how this particular one is lifting already, so that'll be time to use a new one. This is Sahara Sand. I'm going to just stamp 2 leaves on there, kind of randomly, just like so. Take my blender brush and Sahara Sand, some color up. And you just do this on every one of the squares. Got the first column completely done. So we're going to undo these, and I just knocked my blender brush on the floor. And I will use new Post-it notes on this one. And I'm going to take this off here. See how striking of a difference that makes already. And I'm going to put it over here and leaving that tiny titch of color so we don't have any gaps in color. And again, I'll put this one over here. That one was still fairly new. I like the bigger Post-it notes because it covers up the rest of the section. You don't have to put another one down here. All right, now this section is for the words. To a friend that makes me smile. The little curlicue on this stamp may get cut off depending on how you stamp it. But as long as you can read the rest of the words, that's just fine. I kind of have to stand up to do this one. With pressure. It's okay. It's a little crooked. Deal with it. I guess it looks more crooked than it really is because everything else is done on a square. We've got all these geometric lines and whatnot going on. So that's that one. And then again, we're going to take this off and take a peek and turn it over, leaving that little sliver. One more piece down on the bottom. And this one is going to get Cajun Craze and this stamp that looks kind of like popcorn. Oh no, I don't know what kind of flower that is. Oh, maybe it's eucalyptus. Not sure. Pretty round for eucalyptus, but
Maybe berries of some kind.
yeah,
I don't know.
not exactly sure. They look like leaves, but I'll have it coming off of this corner this time. There we are. I'm going to get the hairs off of my blender brush before I.
It's like some kind of berries.
Yeah. Kind of fall berries, huh? Not sure. They're pretty.
Yeah.
And then we'll sponge in from the outside a little bit. Okay. That's the end of the use of the Cajun Craze. So that one's a little bit. Done with Sahara sand. No, we're not. Almost. So then we have one more floral section to complete. And that's going to be the last leaves I have in the box. That's that set. Up to the pink. It's a good way to use up what you've spread out there. All righty. That's good. Done with the green. Who's dinging? Maybe it's my phone. All right, so then we're going to pull these up. And I'm going to move this tape over here. This is the sentiment section. Oops. So we're going to put that in the Stamparatus. where I have happy birthday. No, we don't need this because I'm here this time. Well, it's in here. Where I have the happy birthday mounted up. And we're going to use Sahara sand. I got some mossy meadow on my finger. And good. That off. Move that up now. And then I put this piece of tape back on here. So this procedure is a little bit it's a little bit longer than an ordinary card. So if you're planning on doing this, sure you have enough time. Of course, you could just leave it on your desk and come back to it, I suppose. I'm going to color in this area a little bit here. It looks weathered. Somebody put their dirty fingerprints on it. Okay. So that's the card front feature. And I do see I have a small problem with pencil here. So I will just erase it. Okay. And then I have a piece of linen thread that I have taken a Sahara sand marker to. You could just leave it the color that it was. It wouldn't make that much difference, really. You could also use, there's some mossy meadow woven ribbon in the woven trim. It's not really ribbon on the clearance rack if you're into getting something like that. I think it's like a 1/4 inch wide, so it would look nice on there too. And then you're going to take this up on the back and mount this on your mossy meadow piece. It starts to form that beautiful picture. You can also run this thread through mossy meadow as well. Don't necessarily have to do it in. I am going to take a glue dot, put it on the back of this bow, which I have put a small amount of clear drying glue on there so that the bow doesn't slide out, because this is not a fork bow. It just didn't look, I don't know, the fork bow tried to twist the tape, the ribbon on the back. Right. There's the card front. Let's find the card inside because we have to put a sentiment in there. Let's get rid of all of our sticky papers. Let's find the sentiment is. Sentiment is on there, but the top is dirty, so I have to put that cleaned off before I stick my hand in it. This sentiment is going this way. Done. I'm pulling that one off.
Square that up, Robin.
Pardon?
Square it up.
Oh,
You're not square in the
I
corner.
see that. Thank you.
Oh, rats.
Smudgy. Give it another one.
Sorry.
Where
I just figured if it wasn't squared up, then the sentiment would be crooked. So
yeah, I'm gonna just turn that around and put the smudge under the front piece that we're,
well, that makes sense.
that'll be at the front of the card, so we'll turn it this way. There we go. You're absolutely right. It's stuff that I don't, when I'm in a hurry, that I don't pay attention to too much. Smudge any more of
What
that.
did you say the sentiments came out of? Are they the same set?
This particular sentiment is from Happiness Abounds,
Okay.
and so is the Happy Birthday. And the one that's on the front up here in the corner, that actually comes out of the Forever Fern stamp set. All right, so let's cover up the smudges here. There you go.
Nice.
This would make a nice sympathy too. You could put with sympathy over here. Of course, you want to change to a friend that makes me smile, maybe.
Right.
But anyway, there's the three I made this today and yesterday. Right. That's pretty much that card. That's all there is to that one. This over. So we have a nice clean looking placemat for our last card.
I'm going to have to leave here in about 5 minutes or so.
All right. Well, I'll show you the card.
Yep. I'll wait. I can.
And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's got a lot of pieces. So here you go.
Oh, how pretty.
All right. So your directions will have all the sizes. This is from the name of this stamp set, Decorated with Happiness. And you'll use the matching dies from this. This is the little sprig that's on the inside. The sentiment is wishing you a season filled with happy or decorated with happiness and wonder. You could put a religious sentiment in there instead if you like. And then all of these pieces are just glued in their certain little spots. This is 3 pine boughs that are cut out with the, what's the name of that die set? The matching die set to the stamp set.
Beautiful DSP.
And the DSP is the Boughs of Holly DSP. And I use two different patterns. This is one pattern around the outside and a different pattern on the inside.
Beautiful card.
Beautiful.
Okay, so whenever you need to go, Barbara. It's okay. The most complicated part, of course, is the cutting of the base. And it's fairly easy, really. This is a 5 by 11 piece. So the piece that you cut off can only get 1 card out of a sheet. But the piece that you cut off is what you would cut your pine boughs out of, and you could cut it. There's plenty to cut a bunch of pine boughs out of. But I'll put this. All right, so your paper, of course, won't be scored or anything yet, but you'll put your long edge in. I'm going to use my other one that I have treated. I could not read the ruler, so I took and put a piece of Post-it note tape behind it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So you can actually see it.
Nice little tip.
I lined this up at an inch and a quarter, and then scored from 5 1/4 down to 1 3/4 inches. Okay, and then you turn the paper over and do the same thing on the other side. It's easier than trying to figure out the dimension. So again, from 1 3/4 inches, we'll go up this time to 5 1/4. All right, and that'll make your 2 slits. And then you'll start folding. Oh, you have to put that in on your scoring tool. And well, the stylus took a ride too, so we'll use the bone folder. All right, so on the first thing, you're going to go at 1 3/4 inches and score down just to the corner of that cut. Oh, you can't see me. Just to the corner of the cut. It's not very good lighting either. Let's see. Well, I'll take my word for it. It's down to the corner of the cut. There you go. That look is showing up a little. So it doesn't go all the way down. Then you'll turn the paper over and do the same thing on the other side. 1 3/4 down to the cut. Turn it back over and everything else can go all the way down. 3 1/2, all the way down, 5 1/4, all the way down, and 7 inches all the way down. And when you go to fold this, just fold them up. But this last part, you don't want it to fold here. So the best way, this is pretty flat when you get it. The best way to do this is to kind of push down right here and then kind of pinch this together. And of course it won't close quite as easily yet, but it will make like this TP stand up here. And then you just fold it over and then burnish it here. Okay. All right, so then step number 1 is to get that inside sentiment stamped. Just not that one. This one. Let me put that in here for a minute. And this is and we're going to stamp this with Evening Evergreen, which is the color of the cardstock. You could use Shaded Spruce as well, because that is in the color palette of the DSP. Trying to get rid of this without ink all over me. There. Now,
Ta-da!
typeable grid in there. Clean this off later.
See you later.
All right. Thanks. I won't go through the dimensions on each one of these pieces, except to say that the soft succulent is a 1/4 inch different than its space, and then the pieces that go inside it are 1/8 of an inch different. All the dimensions will be on the sheet. Let's work from the back to the front. Oh, look down at the bottom. I get those borders even, Robin. There we go. All right, so then these pieces, these two, but we'll go here and here. And I'm going to use Tombow because it's faster. You could use tape as well. And these just get centered in their separate little panel spots. There's 4 of these pieces, and they're only these are 1.5 inches by 1 inch. These 4 small pieces here. And so their pieces that go inside of that are 1/8 of an inch smaller. think this is a really special card, but it, you know, it's going to be hard on the mailing because it's so bulky.
Yeah, it would be one that would be harder to mass produce if you were doing like, 50 or 100 cards too, because it would be really time consuming.
So,
but it's a beautiful card.
So many supplies. Yeah, it's kind of like one that you would give to a real special friend, maybe attached to a package rather than mailed. Okay. All right, so those are all the pieces. This last one gets put here, but over the top of the pattern paper that's going there. So this is what the full piece of this looks like.
Pretty paper.
So you're going to get one of those there and one of those there. And so all around this outside frame, I use the same pattern. But when you cut it, every piece looks a little different because of where the pattern is. I want my holly branches pointing upward rather than downward. So change that around a little. The designer that I copied from used the Lovely in Linen DSP, but there was three patterns that were green and looked Christmassy. So her pieces look a little different. These tiny little guys that go on those four things, I'm going to give you the measurement on that one. It's 1 3/8 by 7/8. So they were kind of difficult to cut. So if you happen to get a kit that has a crooked piece, let me know and I'll get it to you because really difficult to cut. Sort of like you have to have your math brain on and cut it from the big end first rather than trying to put a little piece under the cutter. And then while I'm gluing this, I'll tell you, I cut 3 of these pine boughs. One in evening evergreen, one in soft succulent, and one in gold. And that's pretty much all there is to that front feature. It's not all that complicated. All right, and then this piece is a little bit different size. This one is 2 5/8 by 1 3/8, so it goes right here. Sometimes I like to try to match the pattern up if it's a continuous pattern, but it's not here. So.
And is that from the same DSP pack?
It is. That one looks like this.
Yeah.
And the back side's like that.
Yeah.
I
don't like the back, but the front is pretty.
Yeah. I think they did that on purpose because they knew that nobody wanted to cut into nobody wanted to use that.
Right.
Although, some people do some amazing things with paper that you'd never think. So this is not my layout design, but this is my selection of paper because I didn't have the paper that she used. So I think I did pretty good selecting the paper. This one goes right, in the center here. Goes right over the top of this one that's glued right on there. All righty, and then as far as this goes, this is more simple than you would think. I have a few pokies that it didn't come out, so I'm working on those. All right. So, glue dots. I'm going to put. Oh, I'm not going to use those. These are the little ones. My table keeps on getting pushed away. I did buy a new table for here, so hopefully I can. It's hiding in the back of my car right now. Don't want to bring too many new things in all at once. So you got the dark green one, and then I put the gold one over the top and kind of fan it out just a little bit. Put another glue dot on top of that, and put the soft succulent one on the top and fan it out. Now you don't want to fan out too far here, but this is pretty much the way that's going to ride. And so the last one is to put the glue dot on the bottom. Now, I'm not thrilled about not having this as secure as I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some inconspicuous places. In other words, where there's a lot of overlap, like right in here, I'm going to put another glue dot in there to hold it from shifting on me, and maybe one more kind of in this area here. Well, glue dot. Ooh. Whoops.
Oops.
We're back into some. There we go. Okay, so then this piece then just gets laid on here. It can go over the edges because when the card folds, but you don't want to go too far over and go off the edge of the card over here. And then the last thing is just this gold bow I made for you. And it just gets glued with a glue dot. This is our gold shimmer ribbon. I don't know if it's available, but there's another open weave ribbon in gold that we sell. And then I'm going to put this at the connection of the pine boughs.
Very nice.
And then I put 3 red or green rhinestones on the bottom that I had from the previous thing that I thought would be pretty. One I put green, one I put red, so this one's going back to red. My fingernails are getting too long to flip rhinestones. All right, so right down here, I just split this difference with 3 tiny little dots of glue. One in the middle. And then I picked these guys. Oh, well, I took the lid off and then picked these guys up. There. Hey down. And right there. I think that's all it needs. I don't think it needs any other la 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 la.
It's pretty.
Okay. So
Very pretty.
thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all the cards for today. I think we have one more opportunity maybe to make a fall card, like for Thanksgiving. I'll see what I can come up with for that.
Okay.
But I don't think we have too many Happy Thanksgiving stamps, so that's going to be rough. Okay, how do I remove that spotlight? Oh, there we go. Okay. So,
You gonna turn off the recording?
yeah, I am. I got to say goodbye to everybody who might be watching. So thanks for coming. Thanks for stopping in, and we'll catch you next time in the middle of November.